Good morning, afternoon, evening, gamers. So today I've been waiting to watch this with you guys. Before I start, thank you to my new subscriber. You're absolutely awesome. Thank you very, very much for finding me and liking what I do. You're awesome. So this is Unreal Engine 5 revealed, next-gen demo running for PlayStation 5 from Epic Studios, and I love new technology. At the moment, there's a bit of a thing for retro gaming, and that's fine. But I've lived through that. As a kid, went to the arcades, played, Street Fighter and Burnout, and games like that. And that sort of cartoony graphics like World of Warcraft, and there's so many types of those sorts of games. They're not for me. I prefer games to look as realistic as possible. When Skyrim came out, as you all know, people who know me, my jaw just dropped. It was insanely good, and I never realized that games could look that way. And once you see that and you see the possibility, I find it difficult to go backwards. Some games, the cartoon style does work. I've recently been playing some the Lucha shooter. They just made a new one, Borderlands. So Borderlands, that style of graphics does kind of work for that game. So, I understand why some people use a particular style, and sometimes it works, and sometimes it doesn't. But I'm really interested in, natural light, something looking just more realistic. Photorealism as something that has been teased us for so long, and we still haven't necessarily got it. We've got ray tracing, which, whilst not ready at the moment, it's still not good on frame rates. There's still not a lot of games that use it, but I think when it comes into its own, that's going to make games look so good. So let's have a look at this. I'm hoping this is going to be incredible. Epic Games.
Hello, I'm Brian Karras, Technical Director of Graphics here at Epic Games.
Hi, I'm Jérôme Plateau, Art Director of the Special Project.
A few years ago, we got together as a team and brainstormed where we thought we could push forward the state-of-the-art in real-time graphics. There were two key areas that stood out. The first, dynamic global illumination. Beautiful bounce lighting instantaneously.
I don't have to be constrained to do a game where the world has to be static, and I'm able to iterate a lot faster.
And we call this new system Lumen. And we're about to show you what it is capable of. But first, there was another area.
Lumen, isn't that something that they use? I could be wrong. Isn't that something that they use in Pixar games? The word sounds familiar, like it comes from something like Pixar or that sort of technology. I don't know, I could be making that up.
That we thought we could push forward. Truly virtualized geometry. The artist wouldn't have to be concerned over poly counts, draw calls, or memory. We could directly use film quality assets and bring them straight into the engine.
And that's a big deal for artists. I just want to be able to import my ZBrush model, my photogrammetry scan, my CAD data, without wasting any time optimizing, creating LODs, or even lowering the quality to make it hit frame rate.
In the end, that's what it's all about. Art that just works.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. How many times have we had a game, particularly one of the biggest offenders was Watch Dogs. I mean, if you see the original trailer for that, and it looked stunning, and then what we actually got, it wasn't the same, like, at all. And it turned out that game had other problems besides that, but, you know, it looked nothing like the trailer, which is why Ubisoft don't do that anymore. They only show actual gameplay footage, which I think should be the way trailers are made. If it's not actual gameplay footage, if the game doesn't actually look that way, then why are you showing it? It's false. But yeah, this could be that next leap forward. And also Eric for president, somebody I follow. I think he's amazing. If you haven't watched him, please do. Please go and check him out. Great guy, great channel. If you're into VR or new technology, definitely the guy to watch. And he was saying that the Unreal Engine 5 will also work with VR. So if you've got this global illumination and lumens, and this technology will help to make VR games just look incredible, whilst also lowering the amount of resources that it needs to work. That could be a game changer, particularly for VR. I'm very excited about VR. I love VR. I think it's the next step forward in gaming, and I'm always excited to see what's next. That's not to say that I don't respect what's been. Without, you know, WoW, without Street Fighter and arcade games, we wouldn't be at this point. But I also like to see what's next. How are we going to go about games into the future? How are we going to play games in the future? And I think this very much ties in very well with that.
And we call this new technology Nanite. Here is the future of Unreal Engine running live on a PlayStation 5.
Awesome. Let's take a look at it.
Let's take a look.
This has to be the right way.
Before we continue, let's stop a moment and take a look at some of the key features of this demo. Much of what you see was built with Quixel Megascan assets, but instead of using the game versions, we used the cinematic versions, which would typically only be used in film. There are around 1 million triangles each, and thanks to virtual texturing, they all use 8K textures as well.
8K textures? Oof. But does that mean that you would then need to have, you know, does that mean we'd need to have 8K screens, or does it just run on whatever hardware you have? So that's a question. Also, I mean, look at these rocks. I mean, that looks incredible. I mean, to see that on PlayStations and consoles and PCs is incredible, but also to see that in VR. With VR being on your face and the screens being much closer, so older games, you know, when you look at the ground and you look at the textures, yeah, it really shows those low-res polygons. It pulls you out of immersion so quickly. And the same on a PC or a console. If you're running along and you're playing, and you happen to notice a wall as you're sort of going past it, and it looks just, it doesn't look right, it can pull you out of that moment. So this is absolutely incredible, and the way the light plays, you've got the shadow and you've got the illuminated areas. That's Oh, this is good. Like I said, it's going to make the possibility of how they make games just that much more incredible. I love it. It also as well, it seems to be, it feels as though they're changing the way that they make games. You had polygons, and now they're using. It sounds to me that there was a guy on the Gold Coast, or a company, and they created a holodeck. If you live around that area, you can go and you can actually use this holodeck. If you've ever seen Star Trek, you know they use holodecks for training, and they use them for like little holidays because they're out in the middle of space. They can't go anywhere, so they have simulated holidays on these decks. And he created one, but he had to create a whole new graphics card, and it used a technology that is similar to what we have in the real world, particles. Everything that you see around you, you are made of particles. Your desk, the air, everything is made up of particles. And he'd created a type of technology that incorporated that type of detail. And I'm wondering if they're doing something similar with these lumens, whether it's a similar type of idea, but without having to make a whole new graphics card. Because if you've got, first of all, most people don't have the technology to be able to make a whole new graphics card. Then you've got to try and mass produce that. You've got to then try and push it out there on the market. And you've got Nvidia, you've got, I think Intel's joining the fray. You've got AMD, who are already using one type of graphics card, and then you're trying to push your graphics card. You know, it's possibly not the best of ideas. So if you can still do all of this, but use current hardware or future hardware, then I would have thought that that's it's going to mean that we get that technology much faster. But this looks incredible. And obviously I'm not an expert on any of this. I don't make games. I just enjoy playing them with you guys. So I don't understand all of this. I'm just picking up on little bits that I read and sort of trying to make the dots. Some of this goes probably over my head.
Nanite can render an insane number of triangles very quickly. There are over 1 billion triangles of source geometry in each frame that Nanite crunches down losslessly to around 20 million drawn triangles.
Wow.
What does that many triangles look like? This isn't noise. These are the triangles, each a different color. Most are so small that they look like noise. Nanite achieves detail down to the pixel, which means triangles are often the size of pixels. This amount of geometric detail requires shadows to be pixel accurate as well, and Nanite can do that too. Speaking of lighting, all of the lighting in this demo is completely dynamic, with the power of Lumen that even includes multi-bounce global illumination. No light maps, no baking here. Without GI, all of that beautiful lighting is gone. With Lumen enabled, we can move the light and the bounce changes instantly. Okay, let's keep going. We've made some great additions to our audio system as well. Convolution reverb allows us to measure reverberation characteristics of real spaces, like actual caves that we sampled, and reproduce them in virtual spaces. Sound field rendering allows us to record and playback spatialized audio. All of this adds up to a more immersive experience. swarm of bats was created with our Niagara effects system.
That reminds me of the very first time I played Skyrim, and I went into the first dungeon, and as you get towards the end with the Lich King, and all the bats sort of fly at you. I remember just being so excited by just that one little scene, and that kind of reminded me of it.
Particles in Niagara can now talk to one another and understand their environment like never before. We've also added a ton of new functionality to run fluid simulations like you see in the water below. The demo runs on our Chaos Physics system. Here we are using it to accurately simulate the rigid bodies of the falling rocks and the cloth of her scarf. Now that the environment is so complex, we've needed to greatly improve our animation systems to adapt. We've added predictive foot placement and motion warping, which dynamically modifies IK and body position to look more natural. For the character to more realistically interact with the environment, we've added the ability to trigger seamless contextual animation events, like her hand on the door.
Sounds promising.
Dynamic GI is amazing, not just for speeding up iteration, but also for its impact on gameplay.
Nice.
Any light source can move while still having beautiful bounce lighting. Dynamic illumination means specular as well, which you can see on all the metal surfaces. You can even see the Niagara-powered bugs reacting to the light. Lumen not only reacts to moving light sources, but also changes in geometry. Remember we mentioned high poly assets? This statue was imported directly from ZBrush and is more than 33 million triangles. No baking of normal maps, no authored LODs.
Oof.
And we can do more than a single statue. There are nearly 500 of that exact statue at the same detail level placed in this room, for a total of over 16 billion triangles from statues alone. Over this entire demo, there are hundreds of billions of triangles. So with Nanite you have limitless geometry, and with Lumen you have fully dynamic lighting and global illumination, all running on a PlayStation 5.
There's not much time left.
And this doesn't need to be constrained to small rooms. It can stretch all the way to the horizon.
Wow, this looks incredible. The only thing I will say, I've seen these demos before, and some of them have never come into being. Like I said, photorealistic graphics, we still don't really have that. I've seen instances of it pop up here and there, but never really seen anything concrete. You know, so as beautiful as this demo is, I want them to now take this technology and start pushing it into games so that we can see this level of detail, we can see this light play over objects, we can have more realistic, beautiful looking games, we can have this technology to really drive games forward. I've seen quite a few of these demos, and a lot of the times none of it has ever come into actually being something. I mean, yes, there are certain games that do look much better than they would have. So I guess it trickles into gaming, but I really want to see this push forward with these sort of games, because if this was a game, I'd play it. And I think most people would, because it's beautiful, it looks amazing, and it really draws you into the story. So I'm hoping that this is a demo, or is a snippet, or an insight of things to come, and not just a gimmick or an idea that doesn't really show any fruition.
Tom, it's open.
Does that make sense?
Don't fail me now. Time to see what's next.
Yeah. Absolutely superb. I'm hoping this is a sign of things to come. I look forward to it. I think PlayStation fans and Xbox fans, PC fans should be really excited about this. To have better, just more beautiful games running without as much heavy use as you would normally need to make these sort of environments. So it sounds like they found a way to make a game look better and run better at much lower hardware costs, which sounds like a win-win. So we shall have to, we shall have to see. The only thing I don't want to do, I don't want to do the flying bit in VR. I have vertigo or a fear of heights. I don't know if vertigo and fear of heights is the same thing, but that's what I have. And often in games where flying's involved, I'm just like, oof, no. I either have to sit down and play those bits, or just find something else to play. I recently tried the Climb VR. Why I bought that, I just boggles my mind. I think it was on sale, and I just thought, oh, a VR game, it's on sale, and I'll buy it. I tried it, and I was like, oof, no. No. And that's the thing. Even though my brain knows my feet are on the floor, like, it knows that, but then I'm in the game, and my brain suddenly goes, no, don't like this. This is terrifying. That is maybe the possible power of VR, perhaps. But yeah, so I hope you enjoyed that. I know I did. I'm very excited for what's to come in the world of gaming. I love gaming, as you know. So until the next video, be safe, be well, and I shall see you on the next video. Bye for now.